The Curse of the Golden Hand. In the village of Ulimwengu, nestled between sprawling savannas and ancient baobab trees, there lived a young woman named Nia. She was renowned for her beauty, with skin like the night sky and eyes that shimmered like stars. But what truly set her apart was her kindness. She was the first to lend a hand to the struggling farmer, to cradle a crying child, or to share her last morsel of food with the hungry. The villagers adored her, and she found joy in their simple lives. Yet Nia carried a sorrow she rarely spoke of, her family's poverty. Her father had been a hunter, skilled but unlucky. He perished in a storm when she was a child, leaving her mother to raise Nia and her younger brother Kofi on meager earnings from beadwork and small harvests. One day, while gathering firewood in the dense forest on the outskirts of the village, Nia stumbled upon a mysterious clearing. At its center stood an ancient baobab tree, its gnarled roots curling like the fingers of an elder, and its bark glowing faintly in the afternoon sun. Beneath it, a wizened woman sat on a rock, grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle. "Come closer, child," the woman beckoned, her voice crackling like dry leaves. Nia hesitated, but stepped forward cautiously. "I have been waiting for you, Nia of Ulimwengu," the woman said, her gaze piercing and all-knowing. Nia frowned. "How do you know my name?" "I know many things," the old woman replied cryptically. "I also know the weight of your burden, the hunger in your home, the despair in your mother's eyes, and your longing to make things better." Tears welled in Nia's eyes. "Yes, it's true. But what can I do? We have nothing." The woman reached into her bag and pulled out a vial filled with a golden liquid. "Drink this, and your fortunes will change. Whatever you touch will turn to gold." Nia's eyes widened. "Gold? Truly? Truly. But remember, child, every gift carries a cost." Nia thought of her mother and Kofi. She thought of the endless nights they had gone to bed hungry, the patched-up clothes, and the roof that leaked during every rainstorm. Without a second thought, she took the vial and drank. The liquid burned as it slid down her throat, but almost immediately, she felt an overwhelming surge of power coursing through her veins. The woman smiled faintly and vanished, leaving behind only the whisper of the wind. Nia returned to the village, her heart pounding with excitement. She picked up a simple clay pot outside her home, and before her astonished eyes, it turned into solid gold. Word spread like wildfire, and soon, the entire village was gathered around her, marveling at her newfound ability. "Nia, you are blessed by the gods," cried the village elder, clapping his hands in delight. With her golden touch, Nia transformed her family's hut into a grand house with golden walls and a thatched roof of gilded straw. She turned simple beads into gold necklaces, earning enough to buy livestock and grain for the entire village. For a time, it seemed like paradise, but the joy was short-lived. One evening, Kofi ran to Nia, holding a wounded bird he had found in the fields. "Sister, help me save it," he pleaded. Nia reached out instinctively, forgetting the power of her touch. The moment her fingers brushed the bird's feathers, it stiffened, its tiny body shimmering as it turned into gold. Kofi gasped, his face twisting in horror. It's dead," he whispered, tears streaming down his cheeks. Nia's heart shattered. "I'm sorry, Kofi, I didn't mean to." But he pulled away from her, clutching the golden bird to his chest. "You're cursed, not blessed." Those words haunted Nia. Over the following days, she grew increasingly isolated. Afraid to touch her family, her friends, or even herself, she wrapped her hands in thick cloth and avoided human contact. The village began to whisper. Though they benefited from her golden creations, they treated her with unease, as if she were no longer fully human. Nia's mother, who had once looked at her daughter with pride, now gazed at her with sorrow. "Nia, my child," she said one night, as they sat by the fire, This power has given us riches, but it has taken away our peace. You have not smiled in weeks. What use is gold if it brings only loneliness?" "I thought I was helping," Nia whispered, her voice trembling. "I wanted to save us." Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder, careful to avoid Nia's wrapped hands. Sometimes the greatest treasures are not the ones we can hold. Desperate to rid herself of the curse, Nia returned to the forest, seeking the old woman. She found the clearing, but the baobab tree stood silent and empty. "Please," Nia called out, tears streaming down her face. "Take this power back. I don't want it anymore." The old woman appeared as if from thin air, her expression unreadable. "Do you now understand the cost of greed?" she asked. "I was not greedy," Nia protested. "I only wanted to help my family." "And yet you sought a power that no mortal should wield," the woman replied. "But there is hope, child. The cure lies within your heart." "What do you mean?" Nia asked desperately. "The golden hand is born of a desire to take, to possess," the woman explained. "To break the curse, you must give freely, without expecting anything in return. You must prove that your heart is greater than your greed." Determined to reclaim her life, Nia returned to the village with a plan. She began crafting golden tools for the farmers, golden beads for the artisans, and golden pots for the cooks, giving them away freely. She refused any payment, pouring her energy into helping others rebuild their lives. As days turned into weeks, something remarkable began to happen. The villagers, once wary of her, began to see her not as a cursed being, but as a selfless savior. They brought her gifts of food, woven cloth, and heartfelt thanks, though she accepted nothing. One day, a terrible drought struck the region. Crops withered, and the livestock grew thin. The villagers, despite their newfound wealth, faced starvation. Nia knew what she had to do. She traveled to the neighboring kingdom, carrying a cart filled with golden treasures. There, she traded every last piece for sacks of grain, jars of water, and medicines. When she returned to Ulimwengu, the villagers cheered, their spirits lifted by her sacrifice. That night, as Nia stood beneath the moonlit sky, the old woman appeared before her once more. "You have proven yourself, child," she said, her voice warm for the first time. "Your heart is pure, and your love for your people has broken the curse." Before Nia could reply, a golden glow enveloped her hands. When it faded, her skin was soft and unmarked, free of the curse. From that day on, Nia's touch was ordinary, but her spirit was extraordinary. She continued to lead her village, not with magic, but with wisdom and compassion. The riches she had brought remained, but they were no longer the foundation of their happiness. Instead, the people of Ulimwengu thrived on unity, generosity, and the unshakable bond they shared. As for Nia, she learned that true wealth lies not in what we possess, but in the love we give and the lives we touch. And so the tale of the woman with the golden hand became a legend, passed down through generations as a reminder that even the greatest gifts must be wielded with humility and care.